Hi everyone, it's Desiree, and I am here with Scrapping for Less, and we are going to create 5 cards from their Flavor of the Month card kit, and this month's theme for March is a Farmhouse Spring. There are some beautiful images within this month's kit. So as always, we have an ingredient sheet and also a sketch sheet that of course will be available for download from their website, and I will make sure that it is linked down below in the video description. When it comes to our cardstock, you can see that you will get your 2 pieces of white, a lime green, a whipped cream, a gray, a bright pink and purple, and a piece of vellum as well. Okay, so let's dig into our collections. So for collection 1, it is called Hello Spring, as are the papers and the stamp set, and both are by Scrapping for Less. The papers are 6x6 and they are double-sided, and there are some nice soft spring images in this. There's also some ephemera that matches the cardstock beautifully, and that too is by Scrapping for Less. You also get some enamel dots by Gina Marie Designs. There is our stamp set, so you get that adorable bunny and some great sentiments for the upcoming holiday of Easter if you celebrate. As always, with every collection, you do get an envelope. Collection 2 is called Farmhouse Floral, as is the paper, as is the stamp set as well, and both again are by Scrapping for Less. Some enamel dots by Gina Marie Designs and white organza ribbon by Desiree, and you can see the stamp set, and that is one solid stamp with the vase of flowers and the ring going around it. For collection 3, it is called Bloom Wildly. Papers again are 6x6. I am absolutely in love with the color scheme of that pattern paper pack. You get some buttons by Buttons Galore, natural twine, and of course your stamp set by Scrapping for Less as well. And same thing, that circle and sentiment are all one stamp. For collection 4, it is called Daisy Garden. And your papers, you can see there's some beautiful golds and browns when it comes to the papers. You get some white paper daisies by Desiree, and some enamel dots by Gina Marie Designs. And then your stamp set, it's smaller in size, but it's got some great images to create your own background and sentiments. Now, as always, if you are the double dip, that is what you will get. If you sign up for the banana split, you'll get everything in the double dip that I just showed, plus a little bit of extras in another goodie pack. So you will also get this awesome triangle tray by Beadalon. You will get a die, a cut, emboss, and stencil die by Desiree. This beautiful stencil called Butterflies by Scrapping for Less. And then a couple packs of sequins. Now remember, as with everything, the items that I show, they may be just slightly different than what will be in your kit, because items are subject to change without notice, but only when it's necessary. So let's just dig in. Let's look at card 1. Card 1, I used sketch number 4. So if you look at the sketch sheet, I go, 1, 2 on the top, and then 3, 4 from left to right. So sketch 4. So I've already cut my pieces to save some time. I've chosen a couple of the pieces of ephemera, and I'm just setting up my design area for the ephemera pieces that I chose. I'm using my vintage photo. Yeah, you knew it was going to make it into the video, didn't you? Yes. I'm going to prop up the flower with some double-sided foam squares, and I'm going to set that down next to the little bunny. I am going to let that overhang. And every once in a while, I will apologize. I'm just pausing to drink some tea. I'm fine. We're all fine. Allergies. It's that time of the year again. So I've got my pieces set. Let's get back to the card. I'm going to stamp my sentiment just saying hello. And I'm going to use my Gina K ink Moonlit Fog. I wanted my sentiments to be gray throughout this. I did not use any black. I'm looking through. Can you tell? For any of my sentiments. I've cut 3 strips. I'm going to fishtail them because they are going to be the banners that come out from underneath the design panel. I've cut another piece from the gray cardstock, which is grout gray, and that's going to sit towards the bottom of my panel. Now, all of my excuse me, pattern paper panels are cut 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 so that they can sit on my standard A2 size card base. I'm going to use my strip. This is cut 3/4 of an inch, and I'm just going to glue that across the top of the gray panel and then trim off the sides, making sure not to cut my fingers, which don't do that. Yeah, trust me, don't. It's not pretty. Just saying. So I have my 3 banners. I'm going to figure out how I want them to sit. And now I'm going to start layering them on top of each other. Once they're set, I will grab the panel that the bunny is sitting on and then set that there just to determine how far they will be hanging below that panel. And then once I know that, I'm just going to cut across so that I know. And now I'm going to prop my panel up using some double-sided foam tape. The double-sided foam tape that I'm using is by Scrapping for Less. And it's actually the 1 inch. I think I get more use out of that. I'm going to add some of my liquid adhesive and then adhere that onto my card panel front. I'm going to grab my Gina Marie Designs, some of the enamel dots, and just place 3 of those around. I'm going to use my liquid adhesive again and place this onto my standard A2 size card base, which of course is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and this is going to be a top folding card. For our next card, now I've cut this one a little bit differently. It's actually cut to be 3 1/2 inches wide by 5 1/2 inches tall. Just a different size card that you can make, and this is going to be sketch number 2. So I've stamped my image. Again, I'm using my gray, the Moonlit Fog. I wanted it to be soft, and this is not the skinny card. Whoops. I'm looking at a card and I'm watching the video and I went, wow, totally different. I'm so sorry, guys. So, okay, back to the normal card. This is going to be a normal 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch card. Only me. So I've stamped my image, and as you can see, it was one solid stamp. I grabbed the banner where I stamped that first because it's an outline, as you can very well see as I'm catching up. And then I'm going to stamp the sentiment, a spring hello, inside of that banner. Now, to save time, I did fussy cut the banner, and I did also use my Prismacolor pencils to color my image in, and very lightly coloring. I mean, there is just very little hints of color. None of the image, none of the flowers, or anything like that are solidly colored in. So I just wanted that hint of color. So with my one panel, I used a scalloped die, and then I trimmed that down using my paper trimmer, and I'm going to set that across my one panel. And then I've used my circle dies to cut 2 circles, one of my image that I stamped and the other for its background. So I'm going to look, I have the feeling I'm going to be cutting a lot of this off because I do want this circle to be the focal point. So I'm just going to set that down, and then I'm just going to trim it away from my design panel. I'm going to set my, I use the grout gray again. I'm going to use some double-sided foam squares, and set those up and then place that right in the center of that gray panel. And then I'm going to take the sentiment and take that off that circle as well. So I want that hanging there. I'm going to grab the white organza and I'm going to attempt to tie a bow, which for those of you that have seen my videos previously, I hate tying bows. I don't do it well. They don't like me. They don't come out great. But you know what? I keep going. I've let it go. Yep, let it go. We keep going on. We keep moving. It's not going to destroy the card. I'm going to use one of my glue dots to set my bow in place, because this way if it comes loose, it gets caught on the glue dot. And I'm going to adhere this as well on my standard A2 size card base. I again going to grab the gray enamel dots, and I really like these enamel dots because they've got a matte finish. They're not shiny, and I like the gray. I think it gives it some nice accents. So this card, now that previous card, I used sketch 3. For this one, I'm using sketch 2. This card will be 3.5 inches wide by 5.5 inches tall. Yes. But it will also be a top folding as well. So I just cut off a little bit from my standard A2 size card base. So again, just a different size of a card. Again, I stamped my image using the Moonlit Fog by Gina K. And now I'm going to pull in my makeup brushes. And I'm going to use a tumble glass. I think this has got to be one of my favorite of the oxide inks. It's one I always grab. I always go to. It's kind of strange. So I'm going to come in around this image with the tumble glass. I'm going to come in pretty far with it. I just want to go over this just to give it just some difference in color. If that makes sense. I mean, I could have done the bottom green and the top blue, but I just wanted that hint of blue going around. And now I'm going to come around the outside, excuse me, of this circle with some vintage photo. So now for my panel that I chose, I'm going to start doing my layering. So I have 3 strips cut here. 2 of these I'm going to fishtail. Because they're going to go vertically, and then that peach strip is going to go horizontally across the card. So once they're set, now they're going to be toggled, straddled against each other as well. So I'm just going to use a little bit of liquid adhesive just to get those set so that they'll hold. And now I'm going to completely get them down and set it off to the left-hand side of that panel. I'm going to cut the top off just to make it even with that. For the, you can tell I'm thinking here, there was something that I was going to do and change my mind. So I grabbed my double-sided foam tape and I put the peach stripe going across. Now the circle that I've cut out is going to straddle that strip. I'm going to use that same tape and just cut it up into pieces on the top and the bottom of that circle, since it is going to be straddling over that strip. I'm going to adhere this onto my non-standard card panel, and again, that is 3.5 by 5.5, and it is a top folding. I'm going to add, again, the enamel dots. Now, these do have a gloss finish, but I love the color because I think it just makes the focal point pop just a little bit by those few enamel dots that I put. I thought the card was done at that point. I said no. So we're going to continue through. I wanted to add the buttons. I was very intrigued by the colors of the buttons. They were pinks and they were greens. So why not make the buttons flowers and the green buttons leaves? So I kind of put that along the bottom of the circle where the flowers were stamped. I grabbed the twine, I doubled it up, and I created a bow. And that's going to be off to the side as well, just below the buttons. So again, when we're creating, think outside. You know, what else can give you the image or the look you're looking for? There's just many things. Now, I did use my glue dots to adhere all of those buttons. Okay, for our card number 4. So I grabbed one of my panels and I grabbed the sentiment, Grow Laughter. I really liked that sentiment. I think that is great, actually. Now, remember, with the Gina K inks, that looks really dark as I'm stamping them, but they do dry lighter. So they do dry back, and they level out. So I'm creating my first strip. I did use my scalloped edge for the bottom part. And of course, as you saw, I put it on upside down. So the flowers need to be coming up off the scallops, not down to them. So, you know, we just change and adapt. But there's always time. So I layered my 2 panels. The larger one is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and the one with all the daisies was 4 by 5 1/4. I'm going to take that strip with the scallop and I'm going to set that across my card. I cut another piece using a die from my stash, using the Grout Gray, and now I'm going to place my white, excuse me, panel on top of that as well. Again, using my scrapbook.com double-sided foam tape. I am so sorry I'm coughing, guys. And no, I am fine. It's allergies. I promise. Grabbed my tumble glass because I did want to put some of that blue along the top and also make it look like there's clouds that are coming through that white panel. So just by using a piece of scrap cardstock and just butting it up against that other piece that I stamped on, it's not going to get onto my gray cardstock. So again, there's always ways that we can fix and manipulate so that we don't start over. Don't start over. I can't stress that enough. Keep going. Sometimes mistakes, well, a lot of times, our mistakes or our errors or what we think are mistakes are happy accidents. They take you a different way, and you will be pleasantly surprised with what you get after you see your card done. I'm using all of these daisies, these paper daisies, and I'm just putting them along the bottom of this, up on an angle, so that it comes up onto this panel. I will also use, I actually pulled off the centers of some, and I filled in with some of the Gina Marie Designs enamel dots in the green. I'm also going to pull in some of the grays from a previous collection and just place those around. And then I will adhere it onto my standard A2 size card base. And again, top folding. I love the feel of all of these. I love the spring. This was my favorite piece of cardstock. I just fell in love with it. I know it was larger. I did cut it down. This will go onto a 6x6 card base. Now, I make my 6x6 card bases by cutting a piece of cardstock 6 by 8.5, and then I score it along the 8.5 inch side at the 6-inch mark. And then I cut a 6x6 piece from another piece of cardstock and then just adhere them together. So you saw that I cut out, it's actually the hydrangea that was sitting in there. I cut that out. And you can see everything else around it. Now I'm going to use my liquid glue around that, and I'm going to use the vellum. I am really enjoying using vellum for my shaker card. Don't you know why? but I just love the look. Now, I made a mistake here. I wanted to get vintage photo around that opening, so I remembered after my vellum was in place. So that's okay. The vellum went to a vintage photo color, but what I should have done, or what I could have done, was put vintage photo around the outside of that card panel as well. I think it would have tied it in more, but I'm still okay. I'm using my Scotch 3M tape to double up and to create my layer. I used the bead tray to put all my sequins in there. I do like to put a lot, and I'm going to carefully remove the release paper. Come on, we've all done it. We're removing the release paper and flip, the card flips because it gets caught, it picks up, and then we dump the sequins all over the place, and then they're stuck on the tape. Come on, we've all done it. Please. So you just want to take your time with this. I think I'm telling myself that. Take your time when we put that down. Now I'm going to use a piece of the grout gray cardstock. And you can tell it's a little shorter on the top and bottom, but that's okay. I just needed that one section covered up. The gray on the one side was sticking out just a little bit. I will come in and just cut in on an angle so that it does not show. You can see I'm going to have my white panels on each side, and I will use my liquid glue to adhere this down, and I'm going to use the grid on my mat just to line that up so that I have an even border around each side. So you can see I have that 2.5 inches coming up. I used a die from my stash. It's a Rick Rack die. I am absolutely in love with it. And that's going to go across that seam. And I used one of the papers from the same collection. I'm going to pull in the gray enamel dots and just place them around just to give it a little bit more of an accent. But I wanted to keep it soft. So I do hope you enjoyed the 5 cards that I created using the Scrapping for Less Flavor of the Month card kit. Again, this month's theme for March is a Farmhouse Spring. So some beautiful pastel colors, very soft. Love the gray, love the peach. I think it is a wonderful combination. As always, I will have the links available to the Scrapping for Less website, their blog. Of course, the links to get your kit because you don't want to miss out on this one. And of course, a link to the downloads so that you can make sure that you get your ingredient sheets and also your sketches for this month. I'm also going to have a link down below to their Show and Share Facebook group. It's a wonderful group. You can be inspired by all the wonderful designs that are created. If you have any questions or comments, please make sure you leave those down below as well, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Make sure you also follow the blog hop. Every month, Scrapping for Less does host a blog hop with all of the wonderful creators so that you can see all of the wonderful cards that they've created as well. If you haven't already subscribed, I'd love for you to hit that button. Make sure you ring the bell so you know when the next video is live, and make sure you hit the thumbs up. Yeah, we ask you. You got to click on a lot of things. I do. It's fun. I hope everyone is enjoying their day. Please stay safe. Do the right thing. We will all get through this, no matter where we are in the globe, but we will definitely get through this. So everyone, please take care of yourself. And during this time, what a better way to spend your time to always be creative.